Hey friends, it's Brittany with Britts Dips. I'm so happy to be back with you today. Today is day 5 wearing this mani, and I have not lost a single one. So today we're going to pop them off and see what we got. Let's get into it. Alright, so just like before, I am going to file both side walls and the tip of each nail. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to wash my hands. Alright, let's get started. We'll start with the thumb, as always. Okay, so the thumb had a 2-minute and 25-second dry time. It went on thicker. It was very white, and it dried clear when it was completely dry. There was absolutely no odor to it, and it was not spotty with the first dip layer. Ooh, none of these were, I'm going to switch to my other tool. So none of these were spotty with the first dip layer. Beautiful. That came off perfect. Perfect removal for the thumb. That probably would have came off in one piece if I would have used my tool for the whole thing. Here is the thumb with the thin strip. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that was definitely tough. I am a full layer kind of person. It comes off so much easier. It doesn't come off until you want it. You have to file the sidewalls. There is absolutely, I feel like there's absolutely no reason for me to not just do one full layer of dip powder. It still is easier for it to come off like that in like 20 different pieces than it is to soak or completely file off the dip powder, but that is just like still way too much for me. Like I would rather it just come off in 1 or 2 big pieces like these other ones did. So number 2 had a 3-minute and 25-second dry time. It was a thinner consistency. It went on clear, it dried clear, and it had no odor. Okay, so number 2 removed perfectly as well. No issues there. Okay, so there we have number 2. This is going to need filed off. I'm not able to get it off with my tool. Number 3 was my middle finger. Number 3 had the fastest dry time out of the 5 of these. It was 1 minute and 30 seconds. It went on clear. The consistency was thicker, and it dried spotty, and it had a minimal odor to it. Perfect. Completely clean removal in one piece. Love it. It looks great. So number 4 had a 2-minute and 45-second dry time. The consistency was watery thin. It went on clear, it dried clear, and it had absolutely no odor to it. This one came off in a couple of pieces, but it left no residual on the nail. It looks great. I'm seeing I have like some pink underneath the nails. That's not related to the peel base. That's probably related to my messy application. You can see on each, I kind of have a little bit. That's not left over. That's underneath my nail. Fifth finger here, it had a 3-minute and 15-second dry time. The consistency was thicker than gel, which is pretty thick. It went on clear, and it had a slight odor. So this is the thickest one out of these 5. So that one I had to do a little bit more. I had to fight a little bit more, but it came off perfectly clear as well. All right, there we have it. Okay, so again, I am a full layer kind of girl. So let's talk about my favorite. Again, I am not liking any of these thin strip. I'm thinking for my next test, I'm just gonna not do a thin strip. Maybe I'll do 1 layer and 2 layer because I cannot live this life. Like this, I don't know if you're doing this at home, but it's so much easier to just pop them off in big pieces. I have these little chunks all over the place. and that's not purposeful for me. So I think I'm going to switch over to 1 layer and 2 full layers, and see if some of them pop up early with 2 layers. I think that's where we're going to go for the next testing, because this thin layer is just a struggle for me. There we have it. Okay, so we're going to separate the two. I'm going to say my favorite for a thin strip layer and my favorite for a full layer. My favorite for a thin strip layer would be my thumb. My thumb had a 2 minute and 25 second dry time. That's the one that went on white and then eventually dried clear. And it had minimal odor and it was a little bit thicker, but I like that you could see where you put it. And it came off in 2 pieces almost, I think, for the thumb, which all the other ones came off in 100 pieces. So that's definitely number 1. My thumb is definitely number 1 for a thin layer. For the full layer, I was in between my thumb and my middle finger. So these two, I like how they performed. They both came off in almost 1 complete sheet. Now, the middle finger had the fastest dry time. That was 1 minute and 30 seconds. And the thumb was 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So besides the dry time, the middle finger was a little bit thicker and it went on clear. And the thumb was thicker and went on white. So I do like that you can see the white, but the faster dry time I think is also a bonus. So between these two, I would say these two would be my top pick. They kind of tie for me. All right, it's time to reveal. Okay, so number 1 is what I picked for my winner for my thumb, including the middle finger. So number 1 was best for a thin strip, and it tied for first place for a full layer. Number 1 is Secret Sisters, and you can see it is white. So it's a white consistency, and then when it dries, it goes on clear. Secret Sisters runs about $8.50. It was the best one for a thin strip, and it tied for first for a full layer. 2 minute and 25 second dry time. It has a thicker consistency. It goes on white and it dries clear. I like that you could be able to see where you put it. Number 2 was on my index finger. It left some residual on my full layer, and it came off in a bunch of different pieces and left a lot of residual on my strip layer. Dry time was a little bit longer, 3 minutes and 25 seconds. It was the longest for this group. Consistency was thin. It went on clear, dried clear with no odor. Number 2 is Aisle 21. I've heard such good things about this. So if you're using Aisle 21, I'd recommend a full layer. Aisle 21 runs about $12. It had a 3 minute and 25 second dry time. It has a thinner consistency. It is clear. It dries clear with no odor. It did great with a full layer. Recommend a full layer for that. Number 3. Okay, number 3 tied for first place for my favorite full layer, tied with number 1, Secret Sisters. So number 3 had a 1 minute and 30 second dry time, which was the fastest out of these 5. It went on thicker, it dried clear, and it dried spotty. It had a minimal odor. Number 3 was West Coast Dips. Awesome, so I picked West Coast Dips to tie for number 1 for a full layer. West Coast Dips runs about $10. They recommend that if you are putting this over jelly tips, to apply a top coat over top of it. On their website, they recommend that. Number 4 had a 2 minute and 45 second dry time. The consistency was watery thin and clear with no odor. It came off in a couple of pieces for the full layer and 100 pieces for the thin layer. Definitely recommend a full layer for number 4. Number 4 is Kara's Claws. Kara's Claws runs about $12 also, with no latex. And on her website, she has really great instructions for how to apply. Dry time was 2 minutes and 45 seconds. The consistency was watery thin. It's clear and it went on clear. And I recommend a full layer for it. All right, and the last one, number 5. So number 5 had a 3 minute and 15 second dry time. It was a thicker than gel consistency. It was very thick. It went on clear and it had a slight odor. It came off in a couple of pieces for the full layer and 100 million pieces for the thin layer. This one definitely needs a full layer for removal. Number 5 is Madame Glam. This is the priciest one. It runs $21.95. That is if you buy it outright. If you are a VIP where you pay $29 for a monthly subscription, I think you get 60% off of all of their gel products, which will run you $10.98 for this if you're a VIP member. Otherwise, $21.95. This is vegan, cruelty-free, 21 free, and palm oil free. The dry time was 3 minutes and 15 seconds. The consistency is way thicker than gel. It went on clear and had a slight odor. I recommend a full layer, at least one full layer for this one. Okay, so these two were my number ones for a full layer, and this is my number one for a thin strip. So I think depending on what you are looking for, I really like that this has the white so you can see where you're putting it. Well, all right, guys, I will see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this. This is the second one. So I think for the next one, I am going to do 1 layer and 2 layers on the nails. Let me know what you think about that. I just can't do this anymore. I'm changing out these tips anyways. I've had them on for almost a month now. And I want to change the shape. So I'm not too mad about this, but it's so annoying. Like I don't know, is this what happens to everybody when you do a thin strip? Because it's not working for me. A full layer, at least 1 full layer is where it's at for me. All right, until next time, I'm going to test out 5 more companies. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.